Hi, I want to talk to you just for a few minutes about Bloom's taxonomy. Now, Bloom was an educational researcher back in the 50s, and he came up with a taxonomy or an ordering of how we go about learning certain things. We're not going to get into too much detail in this course on the history of it. In the manual, starting on page 21, you can read about that. The key things for you from Bloom's taxonomy and his thoughts are here, actually. This is on page 23 in your manual, and it's a summary of the three learning domains or areas in our brains and our bodies from which we do things. There's the cognitive, the head domain. There's the skills, the hands domain, and there's the heart or the affective or the domain that has to do with valuing things, having an attitude about things. So when you're designing your curriculum, the content of your curriculum, you should be paying attention to those three learning domains. What do the students have to know? What do they have to perform? What skills do they need to perform? And what sorts of attitudes do you want them to take away at the end of the course? It's all about the learner and those three domains. As you can see, there's a lowest to a highest as far as difficulty goes in each of the domains. In the cognitive domain, the lower levels have to do with remembering, comprehending. Then we go to applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So when you're designing your course, you should pay attention to what your goals or your outcomes are. What cognitive difficulty do you require of your students? And then you should be looking at creating outcomes or goals or objectives at that level of complexity. Same with skills, recognizes up to performs automatically. Same with attitudes or affective, becomes aware that an attitude exists up to basically internalizes and is a model for that attitude. Is aware that littering's bad, and then picks up his garbage and everybody else's garbage as he walks through the park, that sort of thing. So that's an important page for you to print out, take a look at, and remember. The other thing that's interesting that I want to show you about Bloom is this section of the manual, and it's the the appendices that have to do with verbs. That starts on page 172. 173. Now you'll notice there's all these charts, and they're basically examples of verbs, active observable verbs that you can use by domain. This is kind of like a gold mine for you when you're developing your profile, where you're looking for verbs, so there you go. There's tons and tons of verbs that you can choose to capture the performances in each domain that you want your students to be able to do. So this is something you should really look at when you're looking at your profile, developing your profile. Okay, so it goes on and on, all sorts of ways. Verbs related to certain work. There's page after page of verbs. Okay, 171 to 180. Take a look at that. It's a gold mine when you're looking at Bloom, the verbs that relate to each learning domain, and then the verbs that relate to each level of complexity of each learning domain. So that's a very short thumbnail on what you should be getting out of Bloom for this course. Okay, thanks, and I'll talk to you soon.